The last words my grandmother ever told me were, "Sometimes the greatest betrayals come wrapped in the prettiest packages, dear." At the time, her message was lost on me. Now I fully grasp its weight. I'm Natalie, and just last week, I saw my entire family deceitfully take away my inheritance right before my eyes. I found myself standing in Gran's Victorian home, the one she'd assured would be mine since I was 12, clutching an envelope she left me. The lawyer had barely finished reading the will when my mother, with her perfectly manicured nails, was already reaching for the house keys. "Sweetheart, you must understand," she cooed, dripping with artificial empathy. "The house needs so many repairs. We're just trying to shield you from that hassle." "Shield me?" I questioned, looking at her and then at my father, who was actively avoiding my gaze. "By selling it without even telling me?" My brother Sullivan leaned confidently against the door frame, arms crossed. "Come on, Nat, you couldn't handle the property taxes anyway." The familiar aroma of Gran's lavender sachets still lingered. Just 3 weeks prior, we'd shared tea in her sunlit sitting room, exchanging stories of her past. Here they were now, circling her life like vultures. "You can't do this," I said, my voice unsteady. "Gran left it to me. It's in the will." "Actually, Mom and Dad have power of attorney," my sister Riley interjected. "The sale's already gone through." Blood drained from my face. "What sale?" "We've found a lovely buyer," Mom said, adjusting her designer blouse with satisfaction. "He's offered well above the market price. The papers are signed." My hand clenched around Gran's envelope, which had arrived by courier that morning with strict instructions to wait until after the will's reading to open it. "Get out," I whispered. "Don't be dramatic, Natalie," Dad finally said. "We're family." "Family?" I echoed, my own laugh striking me as bitter. "Family doesn't act like this. Get out of my grandmother's house now." They exited, Mom lingering at the door. "We're meeting the buyer tomorrow to hand over the keys. You should come, make peace with it." Alone, I sank into Gran's cherished armchair and opened the envelope with shaky hands. Inside was a single sheet of paper and a small key. "My dearest Natalie," it began. "If you're reading this, they've done exactly what I feared. But don't worry, I've left you something they don't know about, something to help you fight back. Check behind the loose brick in the garden wall, the one with the heart carved into it." My heart raced as I jumped up. Gran always insisted that the best revenge is served with patience and wisdom. It seems she left me with a strategy. The law office of Skylar Martinez smelled of leather and coffee. I spread Gran's documents across her desk. The papers found behind that garden brick had kept me up all night. "Well," Skylar adjusted her glasses, "your grandmother was indeed meticulous. Can they really sell the house without my consent?" I asked. Skylar smiled with a reassuring smile that demanded attention. "That's the intriguing part. Your grandmother appended a specific clause to her will 6 months ago. The house cannot be sold without your explicit written consent, regardless of any power of attorney." "But Mom said the sale's already completed," I countered. "Which indicates," Skylar leaned in, "someone forged your signature." My fingers tightened around the armrests. "What?" "See this." She produced a document. "This is supposedly your signature on the sale contract. But the date," she pointed to it. "You are in Seattle, right?" "Yes, for work." I confirmed. "I have flight records." "Keep those accessible. We'll need them." Skylar commenced typing on her computer. "The buyer, Edward Jackson, will be in today. He should be informed his purchase isn't legitimate." "Do you really think we can halt this?" I asked. "Halt it," Skylar responded. "Natalie, we can reverse it. And anyone who forged your signature may face severe repercussions." My phone buzzed with a message from Riley. "Mom's furious you consulted a lawyer. Says you're betraying the family." Showing the text to Skylar, she simply shook her head. Interesting perspective on betrayal. A knock came as an interruption. Edward Jackson entered, appearing more unsettled than a confident buyer should. "Mr. Jackson," Skylar motioned to the chair, "please take a seat." I looked at him as he glanced at me, suggesting the topic at hand might be about the house. Your mother assured me everything was rightly arranged, he said. She deceived you. I replied plainly, I never put my signature on those documents. His face turned pale. What? Skylar slid the documents across the desk with a sigh. The sale needs Miss Natalie's consent, but this signature here, it's a forgery. In fact, she was in another state that day. Edward ran a hand through his hair in frustration. They informed me that you'd consented, but couldn't attend the signing, he said. They were mistaken, I confirmed. That house has immense value to me. It was my grandmother's. Edward interrupted. I know. Your mother told me you were quite resistant, emotionally attached to it. Something in his voice made me pause and reflect. And what else have they been telling you? He hesitated momentarily before reaching for his briefcase. I think you should see these emails, he said, laying them out on the desk. Your family has schemed this sale for months. They were relentless in rushing it through. As I stared at the printed emails, my grandmother's words echoed in my mind. The worst betrayals come in beautiful packages. She had known what they were planning all along. The emails made me nauseous. Mom had been negotiating the house sale with potential buyers even before Gran's death. Your mother alluded to possible resistance, Edward pointed out, showing me a particular email. She mentioned you were too emotionally invested to realize the financial potential. The date on the email struck me. 2 days after Gran's funeral. I exclaimed in disbelief. As Skylar sifted through the documents, she asked Mr. Jackson, would you be willing to make a formal declaration of these conversations? Yes, he nodded. I should have probed deeper when they insisted on quickly executing the deal. Something felt amiss. My phone buzzed with Sullivan's name flashing on the screen. I ignored it. There's more, Edward disclosed softly. Your mother spoke of certain valuables hidden by your grandmother in the house. I recalled the key mentioned in Gran's letter, aware that she had not revealed the location, just that it needed to be secured swiftly. Before I had a chance to what? I inquired. To discover whatever your grandmother left for you, he implied. Skylar compiled the emails into a folder, declaring, this is compelling evidence of premeditation, Natalie. We ought to take action. Suddenly, the office door flew open, my mother entering with her impeccable composure, and Riley following closely behind. Natalie, what do you think you're doing? She questioned in a voice as cool as steel wrapped in silk. Ironically, I retorted, I was about to ask you the same. Raising the forged document, I challenged. Care to clarify this? She barely acknowledged it. Edward, we had an agreement, she insisted. An agreement based on deceit, he countered, rising from his seat. I'm retracting my offer. Mom's controlled demeanor faltered. You can't. We've already allocated the funds. Allocated? I echoed, standing up. You mean spent money that wasn't yet yours. Riley stepped forth. Nat, please, Mom and Dad need this for the business. The business? I snapped angrily. What about it? Mom shot Riley a warning glance. That's enough, Natalie. You're making a dreadful mistake. That house is just a burden, she argued. Then why are you so eager to sell it? I pressed, holding out Gran's letter. What exactly are you afraid I'll uncover? For a brief moment, her eyes locked onto the envelope with genuine fear surfacing. Whatever you think you know, she spoke carefully, you lack the full picture. Then explain it, I challenged. What's in that house worth falsifying my signature for? Silence stretched and finally, Mom turned to exit but halted at the door. Some secrets, she whispered, are best left entombed with the departed. After her departure, Skylar reached for her phone. I'm calling in a favor. We need access to that house tonight, before they act further. Sullivan intercepted me in the parking lot as I left Skylar's office. You're making a grave error, he stated, blocking my path to the car. Mom and Dad invested everything in this property deal. Everything they had, or everything they misappropriated? I retorted sharply. He grasped my arm. Listen, the family business is sinking. Bad investments by Dad led to this situation. I withdrew my arm. So, it's justified to pilfer my legacy? Your legacy? He scoffed with bitterness. You were always the golden child in Gran's eyes. Every family dinner, Every holiday it was about dear Natalie. That's not true, I argued. Is it not? He challenged. A car door slammed nearby as Riley approached, her heels clicking on the asphalt. They're meeting tonight, she said, not meeting my eyes, at the Riverside Hotel. Sullivan spun around. About the house? Shut up, no. Riley crossed her arms. I'm done lying. Mom and Dad are planning something, Nat, something big. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because, she hesitated, I found something in Mom's office. Documents about Gran's estate that don't match what was in the will. Sullivan stepped toward her. You had no right to go through those papers. And you had no right to forge our sister's signature. Riley shot back. I stared at my brother. You forged my signature? He at least had the decency to look ashamed. Mom said it was the only way. We needed the money fast before. Before what? Riley cut in. The audit. The business is being investigated for fraud. They needed clean money to cover the tracks. My phone buzzed. Skylar texting. Got the keys. Meet at the house in 30 minutes. I have to go, I said, pushing past Sullivan. Nat, wait, Riley called. The meeting tonight, it's at 8, room 412. They don't know I know, but I heard Mom on the phone. Whatever they're planning, it's happening soon. Sullivan grabbed her arm. You're going to regret this. No. She pulled away. I'm done being part of this mess. Gran wouldn't have wanted this. I looked at my siblings, Sullivan, angry and defensive, Riley finally showing her true colors. Thanks for telling me, Riley, but why now? She smiled sadly. Because Gran once told me that doing the right thing late is better than never doing it at all. As I drove away, I texted Skylar. Change of plans. We need to crash a meeting tonight and bring your phone to record everything. The pieces were finally falling into place. Whatever secrets that house held, I had a feeling we'd find them all tonight. Room 412 of the Riverside Hotel had a connecting door to 414, where Skylar and I pressed our ears against the wall. Mom's voice came through clearly, thanks to the hotel's thin walls. The audit team arrives Monday, she was saying. If we don't have that money transferred by then. We know, Kennedy, Dad interrupted, but Natalie's lawyer is causing problems. Then fix it, Griffin, Mom snapped. We didn't spend 30 years building this business to watch it crumble because your mother decided to play favorites from beyond the grave. I started recording on my phone. What about the paintings? A new voice asked, Edward. You promised there were valuable artworks hidden in the house. There are, Mom snapped. Martha, that conniving mother-in-law of mine, she had a collection. Insurance documents value them at over $2 million. My hand shook. Gran's art collection. She'd always told me they were just prints. And you're sure they're in the house? Edward asked. In the walls, Dad said, behind the wooden panels in the sunroom. That's why we need to move fast. Skylar scribbled on her notepad. Insurance fraud. The audit team will find everything, Mom continued. The fake invoices, the offshore accounts. Martha knew. That's why she changed her will at the end. Why she left everything to Natalie. She was protecting the art. Dad sighed. Making sure we couldn't get to it. Well, she failed. Mom's voice hardened. Once we get back in that house. A loud crack interrupted her. Riley had entered their room. Mom. Dad, what's going on? Riley, what are you doing here? I followed you. I heard everything. Honey, this doesn't concern you. Doesn't concern me? You're stealing from Gran's estate, from Natalie. We're protecting our family's legacy, Mom insisted. By committing fraud? Riley's voice cracked. By forging signatures and hiding artwork? Your father and I had no choice. The business was failing. Because you were embezzling money. Riley shouted. Gran figured it out, didn't she? That's why she changed her will. Silence fell. Then Dad spoke quietly. How long have you known? Long enough. I found the real accounts, the ones you hide from the auditors. Gran didn't leave clues just for Natalie. She left them for all of us to see. Skylar was at my side, directing a nod toward the door. She indicated that we had enough taped evidence, but I stood motionless, unable to shake off the impact of my sister's words. "I'm notifying the authorities," asserted Riley with determination. "You're not," Mom growled as something shattered, prompting a scream from Riley. Suddenly, the urgency of doing what was right dwarfed the importance of family secrets. I charged into the adjacent room just in time to witness Mom grab Riley's phone and smash it against the wall. "Release her," I yelled. Everyone came to a standstill. Dad was near the window, looking pale and unsteady, while Edward inched backwards toward the exit. Mom clung to Riley's arm with an unyielding grip. "The prodigal daughter decides to grace our presence," Mom said with eerie serenity. Skylar stepped up behind me, capturing everything on her phone. "I suggest you let her go, Kennedy, unless you'd like to add assault to your list of charges." Mom let Riley go abruptly, and Riley rushed to my side. "You've recorded everything, haven't you?" she inquired. "Every single detail," I confirmed. "The fraud, the embezzlement, the art theft, all of it." "You don't understand," Dad intervened. "The business was sinking. We were compelled to—" "Steal from your own mother?" I interrupted. "Forge documents? Tamper with evidence?" Edward cleared his throat. "I suppose it's time I come clean about my role in all this." Mom spun around to confront him. "You wouldn't dare." "Actually," he replied, revealing his own phone. "I've been recording ever since you first proposed rushing the sale. Something felt amiss, and now I comprehend why." "You're all committing an enormous mistake," Mom insisted, though her flawless exterior was beginning to fracture. Riley touched my arm. "The paintings, Gat. They aren't merely valuable. They're stolen, and that's what Gran unearthed." "What?" I gasped. "Dad has been laundering stolen art through the business for years. Gran discovered this when she realized one of her paintings was a forgery." Dad sunk into a chair. "Martha approached me about it 6 months earlier, saying she had proof. That's when she revised her will. I comprehended when she introduced that clause about my consent. She anticipated our desperation to liquidate the house," Mom recollected bitterly. "Warned us we'd need the paintings before the audit." Skylar was already on a call. "Yes, detective, room 412 at the Riverside. We possess multiple admissions recorded." Mom lunged at Skylar, but I intervened. "It's finished, Mom. Gran bequeathed me the house for a reason. To safeguard her legacy from individuals like you. People like me." Mom laughed maniacally. "I constructed this entire family, while she passed judgment from her moral high ground." "No," Riley said gently. "You shattered our family. Gran was endeavoring to rescue us." Police sirens blared distantly. Dad buried his face in his hands, and Edward moved to block the doorway. "The paintings," I queried. "Are they still there?" Mom's silence was all the confirmation I required. Turning to Skylar, "We need to reach them first." She nodded. "I'll apply for a warrant." As the sirens drew nearer, I observed the collapse of my parents' empire, formed on deception, ruined by truth. Gran would have felt pride. The police discovered the paintings precisely where Dad had indicated, concealed behind the wooden panels in Gran's sunroom. 13 masterpieces, each invaluable, each linked to a separate theft over the past 10 years. "Your father's business was merely a facade," Detective Morris elucidated as we witnessed the art being meticulously removed. High-end furniture imports provided an ideal cover for smuggling stolen art. Sullivan arrived as they packed up the final painting. "What have you done, Nat?" Turning to face him, I replied, "I didn't turn Gran's home into a repository for pilfered art." "They're heading to prison," he said, his voice quaking. "Our parents are going to prison." Riley stepped up. "They made their choices, Sully, just like you did when you falsified Nat's signature." "Is that a confession of forgery?" the detective inquired, suddenly attentive. Sullivan's face crumpled. "Mom assured me no one would endure harm." "But harm was inflicted," I said softly. Gran spent her last weeks unveiling her own son as a criminal, her cherished art collection replaced with counterfeits. The business she helped establish was built on lies. Then Ms. Martinez, an evidence technician, called us over. "We have another find." Skylar joined as they retrieved a metal box from the final hidden panel, My heart skipped a beat. It was utterly perfect. Gran had left me a key, which fit perfectly into the lock of a hidden drawer. Inside, I discovered a leather-bound journal and a USB drive. Skylar explained, "Your grandmother contacted me 6 months ago. She was gathering evidence, documenting everything because she knew they would try to sell the house once she was gone." Sullivan protested that the key was private property, but actually, Skylar smiled gently and said, "According to the will, everything in this house belongs to Natalie." Riley asked, "Why didn't she go to the police?" Skylar replied, "She wanted to give them a chance to confess." I realized, recalling Gran's wisdom about love and protection. Detective Morris examined the journal's contents, which depicted art theft, money laundering, and fraud, enough to imprison the culprits for a long time. Sullivan leaned against the wall in shock, claiming ignorance. "No," Riley retorted, "you went along with it, just like all of us until now." I opened Gran's journal to its final page, her handwriting bringing tears to my eyes. "My dearest Natalie," it read, "if you are reading this, you've done what I couldn't, revealing the truth while safeguarding what truly matters, our family's real legacy. I'm so proud of you, my girl." As the police wrapped up their work, Riley, Sullivan, and I stood watching the sunset through Gran's stained glass windows. Our family would never be the same, but perhaps that was necessary. The next morning, sunlight poured through Gran's spotless windows as I sipped tea from her favorite cup. Riley sat across from me, while Sullivan assisted Edward in carrying the final piece of restored artwork. Reviewing the documents at Gran's antique desk, Skylar confirmed, the insurance company verified the painting's authenticity. Just the recovery reward will be substantial. "I don't care about the money," I said. "I just want the art where it belongs." Edward hung a small impressionist garden scene in its original place. "Your grandmother had impeccable taste. These pieces aren't just valuable, they're beautiful," he commented. Riley smiled, running a hand along the frame. Sullivan cleared his throat. "Listen, Nat, about everything." "I know," I interrupted. "You're sorry, but sorry won't fix this." "No, it won't," he agreed. "But perhaps this will," handing over a stack of papers. "I'm testifying against Dad's business partners," he declared. Riley gasped. "Sully, they're dangerous." "So is living with guilt," he replied solemnly, setting the papers down. Edward answered the doorbell and returned with Detective Morris, who brought good news. "Your parents took the plea deal," she announced. "They'll serve time, but their cooperation will help dismantle the entire smuggling network." "And the business?" Riley inquired. "Being dissolved," the detective replied, "but the legitimate assets will revert back to the estate. Your grandmother's legacy is safe now." I wandered to the garden wall, touching the bricks where I found Gran's letter. She knew this would happen, I reflected. She believed we'd eventually make the right decision. Riley added, joining me. "Even if it took some of us longer," smiled Sullivan, holding Gran's teacup, examining its intricate design. "Remember how she said every broken thing has a story, and every story has a lesson?" I finished. Edward and Skylar started packing their things. "No more legal troubles," Skylar said. "The house is officially yours." "What will you do with it?" Edward asked. Looking at the artwork, the sunlit stained glass, and the garden beyond, I answered, "Exactly what Gran wanted. Make it a home again. A true one this time." Riley squeezed my hand, and Sullivan nodded in understanding. Later, as the afternoon sun bathed the sunroom in amber hues, I discovered one last note tucked in Gran's journal. It read, "Remember, darling, revenge is sweet, but redemption is sweeter. Some families break to become stronger. Love always, Gran." Smiling, I closed the journal. She was right, as she always was. The house wasn't merely an inheritance. It was my chance to rebuild something superior from the remnants of what we had lost. This time, we would do it right.